We are now live. Madam Chair, please call the meeting to order.
Okay, I'm Jan Rick. I'm chair. I call this meeting of the Arapahoe County Planning Commission of December 1st, 2020 to order, and we will now call the roll.
Chair Rick.
Present.
Chair Pro Tem Latsis.
Present.
Commissioner Brockelman.
Present.
Commissioner Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Saul.
Present.
Commissioner Save.
Present.
Commissioner Woolman.
Present.
We have a quorum and all 7 members of the Planning Commission are in attendance. Good evening, everybody. I am Jason Reynolds with Arapahoe County Planning, and I will be serving as the moderator for this evening's online meeting of the Planning Commission. We are streaming this meeting on our website, arapahoegov.com. The agenda will be managed the same as it would be for a regular in-person meeting. You may stream the meeting on our website or call in to participate. Please note that the website broadcast is delayed by 20 to 30 seconds. So if you would like to speak regarding any public hearing items, please use the call-in number. To participate live via telephone, call 719-569-5048, and when prompted, enter the conference ID number, which is 415-163-647, followed by the pound sign. All of the presentation PowerPoints are available on our website as part of the agenda, so even if you participate by telephone, you can still download the PowerPoints and follow along with the presenters. Chair Rick, please proceed with the approval of the minutes.
All right, tonight we have one set of minutes to approve from the November 10th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. If there are any changes to the minutes, and please include those changes in your motion, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes as written. Do we have a motion for approval?
Yes, Chair Rick, this is Commissioner Latsis. I move to approve the meeting minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Latsis. Do we have a second?
Commissioner
Commissioner-
Brockelman seconds.
We have a second to the motion made by Commissioner Latsis. Do we have any discussion? Otherwise, Mr. Reynolds, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brockelman.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saul.
Aye.
Commissioner Save.
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman.
I abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Chair Pro Tem Latsis.
Aye.
Chair Rick.
Aye.
The
Minutes are approved.
Yes, on a vote of 6 with 1 abstention. The public is invited to participate in the public hearings this evening, and if you would like to comment on the public hearing items, please call 719-569-5048. When prompted, enter the conference ID number 415-163-647, followed by the pound sign. I will call on individual telephone numbers after the Planning Commission Chair opens the public hearing. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission on this topic after the staff presentation. The applicant and staff will respond to any questions after all members of the public have had an opportunity to speak. Some of the public hearing items this evening are quasi-judicial in nature. In order to afford all parties due process under law, the Planning Commission members must be fair and impartial in deciding whether those applications should be approved with conditions, or denied. In making that determination, each member of the Planning Commission must consider the record, which includes the staff recommendation, the applicant presentation, public comment presented during the hearing, and other written public comments offered before or during the hearing. Under law, Planning Commission must evaluate the proposals based entirely upon the record and the criteria established in the Land Development Code. Those criteria are highlighted in the staff report. It is important that each member of the Planning Commission remain objective and capable of considering information offered into the record during this hearing. Does any Planning Commission member believe that they are incapable of evaluating and voting on the application in an unbiased and objective manner, believe that they may have a conflict of interest, or have any other matter that they would like to disclose prior to proceeding with the public hearing for any of the public hearing items on tonight's agenda? Hearing no disclosures, I will turn this over to the Planning Commission Chair.
The Planning Commission will now consider the proposed millstone at Columbine Specific Development Plan with zoning and preliminary plat, case numbers SDPZ 20-002 and PP 19-003. This will be a combined public hearing on both items, so if you would like to comment on either the proposed zoning or the preliminary plat, you may do so once I open the public hearing. We will start with the staff presentation. Kat Hammer with Arapahoe County Planning is our staff presenter. Ms. Hammer, please begin.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Kat Hammer with Arapahoe County Planning. I want to start off by saying that both of these agenda items have been properly noticed, and the Planning Commission has jurisdiction to proceed with both items. I'm going to share my screen here with the PowerPoint that I've prepared. And put it in PowerPoint view.
No, first screen should be here.
Maybe I'm missing. Where is the PowerPoint view, Jason? Do you recall? I'm not seeing it.
In the lower right-hand corner, there's a little slideshow icon.
Oh, there we go. As the chair mentioned, we are reviewing, I am discussing Millstone at Columbine, which is a specific development plan as well as a preliminary plat. On slide 2 of the PowerPoint, you will see a rendering of the proposed development. Slide 3 includes some information about the proposed development, which is a proposal for 22 single-family detached homes on 5.65 acres, which equates to 3.89 dwelling units per acre. The applicant LAI Design Group is proposing this as alongside the owner, the Francis Company LLC. This proposal includes 22 single-family detached homes, like I mentioned before, and it also includes 30% open space, a perimeter wall that you can see an illustrative design of on slide 3, one access, which is a private drive, proposed as a private drive, landscaping and lighting, internal sidewalks, and a pedestrian connection to bowls, and improvements to the adjacent trailhead. Moving on to slide 4, you will see an illustration of the parcel as well as the surrounding area. As you can see from the chart below, most of the area around this parcel is used for single family, with the exception of the parcel right to the east. This little sliver here is owned by Denver Water Board. Moving on to slide 5, which indicates the process. This application does qualify for the 2-step PUD process, and it is currently, the lot is currently unplatted. So a preliminary plat and a final plat are required prior to approval of this development. If this SDP and preliminary plat are approved by the Board of County Commissioners, the applicant will be required to submit for a final plat and administrative site plan prior to construction and building permit. Moving on to slide 6. A little background about the property. It is 5.65 acres, currently zoned R2, which is an obsolete zoning district in our land development code. The primary use right now is agricultural. The comprehensive plan designates this parcel as suitable for urban residential / single family detached and attached, with a density range of 1 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The proposed minimum lot area is 5,250 square feet, which is similar to two other minimum lot requirements in our land development code, the R2A and the RM conventional zone districts. On slide 6, you'll see an illustration that indicates densities for neighboring subdivisions. As you can see, this is the highlighted parcel here in orange. They're proposing just below 4 dwelling units per acre. As you can see, some of these subdivisions to the east of the site have similar densities, and some of them have much larger densities, with this Welch all the way to the east with the 6, the Brookhaven with the 4, the Village with the 2.38. These on the east are all in Columbine Valley. And then if you move to the west of the site, you can see that these subdivisions to the west are around two dwelling units per acre and are also used for single family homes with a larger or a higher density to the south at Columbine Lakes. Moving on to slide 7. The comprehensive plan, like I mentioned, does find this parcel suitable for this use, which is single family detached and with a density anywhere from 1 to 8 dwelling units per acre. As you'll see in the staff report, this proposal, both of the proposals, the specific development plan as well as the preliminary plat, do meet a number of policies and goals that are outlined in the comprehensive plan and the criteria that are required for approval of a specific development plan and a preliminary plat. Moving on to slide 9, which is titled Discussion, Comments from the Public. Staff did receive 5 emails in opposition of the proposal. A number of those emails had a very similar theme, and the theme did include traffic, congestion, safety, some density concerns, and in relation to traffic access. Staff received 3 emails in support / no opposition of the proposal prior to yesterday, and staff received 1 more email today from an adjacent neighbor to the west stating they were in support of this proposal. And that will be added to the record. The public comments received by staff can be found on the agenda and were included as part of this application or part of this agenda item. And staff did speak with 1 member of who lived in Wilder Lane, Wilder Lane, which is just east of the proposed site. And their main concerns were regarding cut-through traffic into their neighborhood. Staff is recommending 5 conditions of approval for the specific development plan known as Millstone at Columbine to ensure that the referral comments are addressed. The first condition of approval is that the applicant will abide by or will address all of staff's comments. The second is that the applicant will meet all of South Metro Fire District requirements. The third, the fourth, and the fifth are all items that staff has spoke to the applicant about, and they agree with these conditions of approval as far as I'm concerned, but they can dispute that if necessary. The third one being that they will provide a pedestrian connection at the northeast corner of the site to provide a connection to the Plat Canyon / Bowles intersection. The fourth one is that the applicant will enter into a maintenance agreement with South Suburban Parks and Recreation and Denver Water Board in regards to their proposed improvements on the Denver Water Board site. And the fifth condition of approval is that the applicant will provide an updated will serve letter from the Water and Sanitation and approval of an annexation into the Plat Canyon Water and Sanitation District. As I mentioned, these last 3 items have been discussed with the applicant, and they have been willing to agree with these conditions of approval. For the specific development plan, staff finds that this proposal does generally conform to the Arapahoe County Comprehensive Plan, and staff also found that this proposal for the SDP meets the Arapahoe County zoning regulations and procedures for a planned unit development. So staff is recommending approval of the SDPZ 20-002 Millstone at Columbine specific development plan with the 5 conditions I previously stated. The Planning Commission has 4 options in regards to this proposal for the specific development plan. The Planning Commission can recommend approval of this application with staff recommended conditions of approval. The Planning Commission can recommend approval of this application with revised conditions of approval. And the Planning Commission may also recommend denial of the application or ask to continue the public hearing to another date. Moving on to the preliminary plat known as PP 19-003 Millstone at Columbine. Staff is recommending approval of this app proposal with 4 conditions of approval. The first one, that the applicant addresses all the public works and development staff comments and concerns. Similar to the SDP, that the applicant will provide a will serve to ensure that water and sanitation services can be provided to the site. And that the applicant meet the South Metro Fire District requirements. And the preliminary plat is contingent upon the approval of the specific development plan known as SDPZ 20-002 Millstone at Columbine. Staff found that the preliminary plat generally conforms to the county's comprehensive plan, and that the preliminary plat meets the Arapahoe County zoning regulations and procedures for a preliminary plat. Staff is also recommending approval of PP 19-003 Millstone at Columbine preliminary plat with the 4 conditions stated. The Planning Commission has 4 options again in regards to the preliminary plat. Recommend approval of the application with staff recommended conditions, recommend approval of application with revised conditions of approval, recommend denial, or continue the public hearing to another date. I stand for any questions, and the applicant and their representative are also on the line, and I believe they have a short presentation.
Thank you, Kat. Are there any questions? Are there any questions from the Planning Commission?
Yes, this is Commissioner Sauve. I don't know if did you want to go in order or just, it's okay to just speak up. Okay, Kat, I have a couple of questions with regard to clarification and in detail. I'm looking at the SDP page 2, where it has detail around the development, and I just want to get clarification that the heights of these proposed homes, the ranch being, looks like 26, and the 2-story being 30 feet in height, I wanted to be sure that that was compatible with our comprehensive plan. And then same question with regard to the distance between each of these homes being distance between the buildings being 10 feet. I just wanted to clarify, is that is that compatible with our comprehensive plan?
Thank you, Commissioner. The height as proposed on the SDP is a maximum height of 25. I spoke with the developer, and our specific development plan does not require a maximum height. It requires a maximum story. So the developer is likely going to remove the maximum height, but they are going to use the 2-story as a maximum height indicator. And that is consistent with single family home development in Arapahoe County.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question has to do with open space. And I know that your information here indicates that there's 30% open space. And I didn't know if this is a question for you or the developer, but I'd like to see one of you just walk us through the actual site and point out where the open spaces are and if there's anything other than grass and trees.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'll go back to your previous question about the distance between buildings. That is not something that's set in the Arapahoe County Land Development Code. It is set by the International Building Code, and the 10 feet, as far as I'm concerned, it does meet that requirement for distance between single family homes.
Okay, thank you.
For the open space, they have indicated that they are providing 30% open space, and I will resort to the applicant providing more information about further defining that open space and what's happening there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauve. Are there any other questions from the Planning Commission members at this time? If not, we will ask the applicant to begin their presentation.
And to unmute yourself, I believe you do *3. Is that correct?
*6.
*6. Okay.
Yes. And, it does appear that last 4 digits of 1777, which is the applicant, is now unmuted.
Hello, this is Jerry Eckelberger. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kat. And yeah, let me tell you who's here with me. We're all masked and socially distanced. I'm Jerry Eckelberger. My wife Judy and I are the owners of the Francis Company, which is a small LLC. Here with me is Jen Carpenter, our planner from LAI Design, Brian Clerico, our civil engineer from CWC Consultants, John Aldridge from Aldridge Transportation, and on the line maybe Andrew Larrick from Adamo Homes. Andrew, are you on?
I'm on. Can you hear me, Jerry?
Yep. We can hear you. Let me start out and give you the commissioners and the chairwoman a little history here. We've been at this for 3 years. We've been painstaking in our approach. I think I can say for all of us, we've been very diligent. We put the property under contract in the fall of 2017, and then last December of 19, we bought the property. We've been through 4 submittals with Arapahoe County, and let me first say, and I don't know how many of you were on the Planning Commission back in March of 17. But it was at that point in time that KB Home, who I'm sure most of you know is a large national production builder, had this property under contract with the prior owner. And they first wanted to put 58 and then 50 and then 40 duplex units on the property. By comparison, we're at 22. They wanted to do an attached product, that is, they were duplex units. All of our units are detached single family. They were doing 2-story. We are doing ranches with lofts above the garage, and I think that's on, might need my specs here to read, but I think it's on blocks 4 and 5, which are on the east side of the private drive. And if I can, I'll go back to Commissioner Suave's question on height. We're trying to stay as low as possible. And so if you don't want it written in that way, then obviously we won't write it in. But, you know, we wanted to say top of roof 26 feet, no more than. Those are going to be pure ranches, 1 level. And then down on these blocks 4 and 5, Adamo Homes would like the option to do a loft above the garage. So it wouldn't be a full 2 stories. It'd just be a loft above. And the height there would be 30. Now, we're agreeable to however that gets written out. I can tell you that in talking to neighbors on the west, on Camargo, and some, I think, in the hamlet, I have said, this is what we'll do. And, you know, I don't want to go back on what I've told them. Anyway, we're very different from what KB brought before the Planning Commission and the County Commissioners back in the spring of 17. And they were denied by the commissioners. And after looking at their plans, I've got to say, I would have denied them too. Not to say that KB was going to build a bad product, but it's a product that was really meant for E470 area. It wasn't meant for an infill project in this urban area of Arapahoe County, where you have, to the west and across the street in Columbine Valley and down south, and in some cases up north, you've got some very, very nice homes. It just didn't fit in. The other thing that's very different about what KB was proposing and what we're coming up with is the quality. Andrew can speak to the quality of the homes, and I might want to, well, I'll stop in a little bit to get his input there, because he's one of the principals with Adamo, who will be the builder of those homes. But the quality and the price point will be double what KB was doing, much better quality. Price point, much higher, so it fits in. Going back when I first looked at the property, I thought, gee, this property is probably commercial, because on the other three corners, we're in one of the corners, but for Denver Water, of Plat Canyon and Bowles. And when you look across the street on the southeast corner, there's a Circle K, very lighted up, I might say. And then south of it's a shopping center. Across the street on the northeast corner of Plat Canyon and Bowles is more commercial. And then in the northwest corner, there's residential back behind, but right on the corner is a pretty good sized Denver Water Winnetka facility. So I looked at that and I thought, gee, what do you do here? Do you do commercial? And indeed, since I've purchased the property, since Judy and I purchased it, we've had inquiries from commercial developers. But our vision has been much different than that. Our vision has been to try to do something that, number one, whenever I walk away from a project, I want to be proud to say I did that. I want to drive by it and show it to my friends and my family and say I did that. But our vision was to do something that would be pleasing to the neighborhood, that would fit in with the neighborhood, not with the commercial, but with the residential. I'm not sure who found who, Andrew, but Adamo and I teamed up. And Adamo is a small batch custom home builder that's done a lot of work, especially in the Castle Pines area. Andrew, if you're still on, I might sort of be quiet for a minute and have you describe sort of what you're thinking of building here in terms of
Sure.
What the house is going to look like and what the interior is going to be.
Sure. I'll do my best. So, real quick, my background has been land for the last 20 years with my family's background, and I recently joined Adamo on the ownership side a couple of years ago. So I'm still learning the other side of the business, the home building side. But to Jerry's project, to his point, our customer here at this project will probably be starting in the very high eights, 875 on up, probably low nines. Not quite as big as the homes across the street to the east. Most of our buyers, if not every single one of our buyers, are at least 50 to 65% down. That's more than half, and the other half are 100% cash buyers. We focus on high quality homes. Not the bigger is better, but quality is better. Most of our customers, this is their second, third, maybe even fourth home. They've grown a family. They don't need the family home anymore, and they're just looking for quality. I sort of see a lot of pressure coming out of the Columbine area. Jerry, help me out here. like Jerry mentioned, these houses that we'll build here have they're basically they'll be very similar, if not similar exactly to the homes that we've built in Castle Pines, specifically in the area called Copper Blush in Castle Pines. Jerry, what else can I help with your presentation?
Well, let's
I'm on the phone here.
Yeah, let's do it together. And if I miss something, you can fill in for me, Andrew. But I think what the interiors of these homes is going to be, again, they're ranches, and they'll have a master bedroom bath suite, and then they'll have another room. They'll have a bath that could either be used for an office or a guest bedroom. And I know Andrew and Dean Amon, who's another partner in Adamo, quite often deal with customers and let them sort of figure out just how they want to design the inside. But I think not atypical is sort of a great room idea where you've got, your living, dining, and kitchen all together. We've taken pains to try to grade this property so that people can walk out their back door onto a back patio and not have to walk down steps to get out onto the patio. And if you look at some of the plans in the SDP, you'll see that we've worked with Denver Water. And Denver Water, they're a little slow. But they've been very good to work with. They've allowed us to grade, or they will allow us to grade from up on close to the north end, close to Bowles, and coming down to where the South Suburban parking lot is, so that we can do a gradual grade down onto their property before we reach the South Suburban Trail. That allows us to do a couple things. One, not to have homes that are sitting up above the wall, because we will do a screening wall that will be, and it's in the SDP plans that you have, it'll be 6 feet high. And among other good things, it will replace the chain link fence on the Denver Water side of our property. We've tried to get them to agree that we could take out the shed that they have there. They haven't agreed with that yet, but we've told them if they would, we'd pay and tear it down. But the other thing it does is, without being able to grade down onto their property, we'd have to do a 4-foot retention wall to hold back dirt. We won't have to do that. So the whole thing allows us to do these homes that are going to sit, on that east side, back behind the wall on those lots or blocks 4 and 5. And not be looking over the wall, not be seeing Plat Canyon, not be hearing as much of Plat Canyon. The finishes on the exterior, I think, Andrew, you correct me if I'm wrong, there'll be stone, stucco, cedar, tile roofs. On the interior, these guys use nothing but quality finishes. Andrew, you can probably fill that in better than me.
Yeah, Jerry. It's too bad I'm on the phone here, not with you. I don't know if Jerry, if you included in the presentation the interior examples that I sent earlier, but that's exactly right on the exterior. Earth tones, landscaping. These houses in these models in Castle Pines were all stucco stone, tile roof. Just like you said, Jerry, very good classic timeless elements, but yet still enough, contemporary look for the period that we're in. I think that's a very nice home. It's going to be a great project. And the other thing, Jerry, I'd add is just pointing out all the nice landscaping that you have on your plan as well.
It's one of the reasons why I like dealing with Adamo is Andrew's very big on landscaping, especially evergreen trees. And we're going to use a lot of trees to shield us from the Camargo Way homes on the west, and to shield them from us from them. If you look at the plan, it's purposeful that we have these patio homes close together. We're looking for a demographic for a buyer that Andrew spoke to that does not want a big lot. They don't want to have to take care of a big yard. They may be people in the hamlet or Beaumar South or over in Columbine Valley that are looking to downsize from a bigger lot and a bigger home into this type of home. We want them close together. We want to create a neighborhood sense. And then we have 30% open space, and that we will landscape the heck out of. I think under the, and Kat, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think under the LDC, that all that would be required would be 10%, but we're doing 30% in open space here. So that's sort of the vision of what we'd like to see, what we've worked on here, and we've from the start involved the neighbors, especially the closer in neighbors. The folks on Camargo Way, which is directly behind us, and they adjoin our property on the west, and a couple homes on Bowles, and then there's 3 homes in the hamlet that adjoin our property. We've worked with the Camargo Way folks. I think we've had at least 2 or 3 in-person meetings, and then with COVID, many other meetings that were by Zoom, etc. Before COVID, I would meet with homeowners individually at coffee shops. One of the things we dealt with was sight lines. We did a study to show that if you were on Camargo Way and you were standing at the back of your house and you were looking at our project, what you'd see, we didn't want them to be looking into our windows. They didn't want to look into our windows. And that's the reason for the lower height on all of the other lots, that is 26 feet. And in addition to that, as I said, a lot of trees. With the hamlet people, there's a cul-de-sac that is in the hamlet, and it is on our southwest side. And there's 3 lots there, owned by the Larsons, the Rabs, and the Wonkums. And I've talked with them several times post-COVID, and reached out to the Hamlet HOA as well. The Larsons, the Rabs, and the Wonkums all support our plan. Omar South, I know, was with KB. They didn't like what KB was doing, and I think one of the reasons they didn't like it was that KB was going to have an access onto Bowles. Bowles has almost 30,000 cars a day pre-COVID. We have worked hard to put together a plan interiorly so that we wouldn't have to access Bowles. We've worked with the fire department, first responders, and they're agreeable to our plan. They think it fits fine. Originally, the Arapahoe County Sheriff Patrol had some questions. I talked to Glenn Thompson at the Sheriff's Department, and he's good with what we're doing. We did a Zoom the other day with the owners across the street from us in Wilder Lane, which is not a dissimilar project and a fairly recent project. I think just about everything's been built there. There's 24 homes. I think they're all within the last 3 years. Could be a little off there. And I think one of those homes has still maybe just been finished, but it's not been sold yet. Again, I could be corrected there. But we did a Zoom conference call with them. I know they're concerned about Plat Canyon Road and traffic, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. And then knowing that there were a lot of a lot of people that just didn't like what KB was going to do. I think there were over 100 people that came out to that hearing and objected to what KB was doing. And so rather than sitting back in the bushes, the people I had emails for, I emailed. The people that I had addresses for, I sent letters to. If I had neither, I looked around. If I still couldn't figure it out, I just didn't do it. But my guess is that I sent out about 80 letters, and the letters were all similar to what you saw in the packet that came from one of the people to whom I'd written a letter. You know, I sent them the land plan, which is the same as what you're looking at. It didn't have the same numbering and the blocks on it, but aside from that, it was the same. And I basically told them what I'm talking about with you. We early on, I got in touch with Littleton Public Schools, and then since then, I've communicated with the principal at the schools, Susan Dalton. She said she has plenty of capacity at Wilder Elementary. Should we have any children coming out of our area, we don't think we're going to have any of many kids. I know across the street in Wilder Lane they do, but as Andrew said, they're a little bit bigger house, more bedrooms, etc. You know, all this said, we will have full unfinished basements, but unless somebody requests it, we're not going to finish them out. Adamo won't finish them out. Yeah, the student-teacher ratio at Wilder is good. It's 23-1. We've dealt with South Suburban, Park and Rec District. As many of you may know, they've got a trail that runs through the Denver Water property on our east side. They've got a parking area there. We're going to improve their parking area. We're going to improve their trail right around the parking area. And we said we'll work with them to make sure that there's proper signage up because that'll be our entryway as well as where their trail crosses. So we want to make sure that it's safe for everybody. On the issue of roads, we've got two of them. Bowls. And as I said, that's about 30,000 cars a day. We are not going to have an access on Bowls. Plat Canyon has about 18,000 cars a day, maybe a little bit more than that. And that's all pre-COVID. It's CDOT's, Colorado Department of Transportation, right away. They own it. It's CDOT's jurisdiction. What they say goes. Yeah, John Aldridge is here with me and Brian Clerico, and it's been 3 years ago when we met down at Columbine Valley with Phil Sieber, who unfortunately about a month ago passed away. But Phil was the town of Columbine planning manager for a lot of years. And we met with Phil and with Kirk Allen, who's the permits and utilities manager for CDOT, and one of his engineers. And they told us then at that meeting, CDOT did, that they wanted to see full access from our development onto Plat Canyon Road. They said they can't light it. It's too close to the intersection of Bowls and Plat Canyon. But they wanted full access because they didn't want to see people that might want to go north coming out of our development, and if they couldn't make a left turn, then that they might do a U-turn. Or they would go south and perfectly legally go through Village Court and onto, I think it's Middlefield Road in Columbine Valley, and go out to Bowls that way. And Phil certainly didn't want to see that from the standpoint of the town of Columbine Valley. So they were pretty insistent that that's what they wanted. Now, the other side of this is we're constrained. We do not front onto Plat Canyon Road. Denver Water, since about 1903, has owned that 100-foot strip that goes between us and Plat Canyon Road. And I think they own it for the full length of the 3.5 miles of Plat Canyon Road. So, yeah, what they have in there between the roadway and the trail is a 5-foot in diameter water main that came off of the Platte River long before the reservoir was down there. And it goes into that Winnetka facility. Also running through there is a government fiber optic line that every time it's raised, somebody says you can't talk about it, but it's been talked about it enough. I think everybody knows it's there. And that likewise is between the trail and the street. So with all that said, you know, we were instructed by the county early on, look, go talk to CDOT, go talk to Littleton, go talk to Columbine Valley and many Denver Water and many others, which we did. But in talking to CDOT, they said, well, we will give you an access permit for this full access onto Plat Canyon Road, which we CDOT think is the safest way to go here. And we want you with that access permit to go talk to Denver Water and see if Denver Water will give the land so that you can do a right turn in decel lane. And John Aldrich, who's sitting here and who's our traffic engineer, will tell you, and I'm going to shut up in a minute and let him tell you, that what we're doing has no discernible impact on Plat Canyon Road. I mean, if you tried to see it, you wouldn't. You know, 18,000 cars a day, and we have 22 homes. So, John, maybe you could fill in the commissioners on what your work has shown.
Certainly, I'd like to. Yeah, we have been working, you know, quite a bit with CDOT to make sure that this is going to function properly and safely for everybody, including those on Plat Canyon. And it's, the amount of traffic that's being generated by this project actually doesn't warrant any sort of decel lane, right turn or left turn lane. It's just too low. Their thresholds are quite a bit higher than what we're going to be generating for these type of facilities. But nonetheless, what we've worked with, particularly with the county and CDOT, is to put in a little right turn lane there. So it will get people out of the traffic flow when they want to make a right turn into the property. In addition, what we're going to do is to restripe the road for a left turn lane. So this will have the advantage of being, when people are traveling north on Plat Canyon, and in front of them someone makes a left turn into the property, this left turn lane will get them out of the main line so that it doesn't interrupt the main line flow. We're also going to put in what's known as a refuge lane for, and this was the idea of CDOT to do this, so that someone coming out of the property making a left turn, if there isn't really an acceptable gap for them to turn into the main line or the through lane, then they can wait in this refuge lane for that gap to occur. So they can make more or less a two-stage left turn. And I think, you know, we've presented this to Littleton, we've presented it to the county, obviously, we've presented it to the Columbine Valley. We've met with CDOT several times, and everybody's on board with this. They think it's going to be fine, it's going to work fine, and it's going to be no issue. We understand, of course, that there are, you know, some congestion problems at Plat Canyon and Bowles. There's not much, obviously, right now, any improvement that we could make. There, you know, maybe some improvements online in the future, but at the moment, there's nothing more that we can do here at this location. I don't know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer those. But
Well, let me go back, and then maybe we can take all the questions when I'm finished. But yeah, I can tell you this: that left turnout refuge lane in my neighborhood. My neighborhood's in Greenwood Village, and to get out, we get out on University, and it's busy. I don't know how it compares to Plat Canyon, but it's busy.
About 40,000.
Okay, busier. And we've got a left turn refuge lane to get out, and it works very, very well. You just, in the Plat Canyon case, you wait for the traffic going southbound to clear, and it clears right after the left turn southbound's made, and people are going straight across Bulls, and then you can get out and into that refuge lane. And when the traffic clears going north, or they let you in, you get in and go north. It's not a problem. And in terms of traffic, let me put it into a perspective here. I think John's estimates are that in the morning peak hours, in an hour, we'd have a total of 12 cars going out. And I think we figured that 80% of those would go north.
That's correct.
So that means at most we've got 10 cars going north in an hour. So if you break that down, it's one every 6 minutes. It's not much. And if you break down the total daily trips over a period of 16 hours or whatever, likewise, it's not much. We're not going to have an impact on Plat Canyon Road. Now, that said, I understand the Plat Canyon Road could probably use a lot of improvements, but it's bigger than what a 5 2/3 acre project can do. We think that we're in compliance with the Arapahoe County Land Development Code. We believe we're in compliance with the comprehensive plan. The urban residential allows for up to 8 units per acre, and as Cat Hammers pointed out, you look across the street, Wilder's 3.7, we're 3.89. Brookhaven, which is they're both nice projects, Wilder, Brookhaven. Brookhaven's at 4 per acre, and by the way, they're 10 feet between homes. Very, very nice homes in the 7 figures. Down the road in Arapahoe County, Columbine Lakes is 5.24 per acre. Across the street, Columbine Villas is 4.3. In summary, we've spent a lot of time. We've been very diligent. I mean, one example is what I was referring to with Denver Water and getting them to allow us to do the grading there. It took us several months to get that done. And we had to hold up everything while we were doing it, but we thought it was worth it to do a nice project. We've involved the neighbors. We've relied on Brian, John, Jen. We've relied on when we talk about CDOT, they had 3 traffic engineers at least involved in this. We think that what we're going to do, and one neighbor on Camargo Way said this to me, that this project is going to benefit the Camargo Way neighborhood. I don't think, and I know I'm biased, I don't think you'll find a better vision or a better use for this property than what we've put together, and especially being on a busy corner. I think a lot of people would try to not do anything nearly as nice as what we're going to do, to not do anything with the lower density that we're doing. When KB Home was involved, Historic Littleton said, what this really needs is a project that's more like Wilder Lane at 3.7 to the acre density units. Well, we're there. We're 0.2 of a unit higher. Someone else said you ought to do something between 15 and 20, 27, 28 units. And again, we're there with 22 units. we think it's going to be a real benefit, and we would respectfully request that, that as staff has recommended, that you approve both the SDP and the final plat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eckelberger. I am going to now ask the members of the Planning Commission if they have any questions at this time. Commissioner Brockelman.
I just have a couple quick questions, more so because these are higher priced homes and I'm not that familiar with that area because I'm out in the Eastern Plains, so it's quite a bit different out here than what you're at. You know, it was mentioned that these homes were 835 plus with it. What is the median household price in that area?
Well, Mr. Brockelman, I think, and please take me with a grain of salt, and Andrew, you chime in if you know better than me, but I know that across the way in Wilder Lane, which is this newer project, 24 homes, contemporary, that their last home that I saw was at least advertised at $1.25 million. And those homes are a little bigger than ours, but I think they're still under, well, I think they're under 3,000 square feet on the main floor, excluding garages. And then if you go to the west of us, and maybe there's some people on the line from Camargo or the Hamlet, I think homes would probably start in the low 7 figures and go up. I think the same thing's true of Beaumar South. Columbine Valley has some very nice homes. Down the way in just south of Columbine Valley, Lennar right now is doing a 100-lot project called Wild Plum. And by the way, they're going to come on to Plat Canyon Road, and they don't have nearly the sight distances that we have. You can't see. They don't have nearly as good decel lanes as we have. They've only got 2 of them, and they're short. And they're doing 100 homes. And I think, Mr. Brockelman, that those homes are probably in the $2 million plus or minus range. So I think we're low when Andrew talks about 835 to 9 plus. But when you look at where we're located in this corner, that's really a nice product for where we are. And we don't have the advantage of being across the street in Wilder Lane where they're in Columbine Valley, which has a little bit of an upscale appeal, just the name Columbine Valley. So I think we're building a very nice exterior and interior home.
Okay.
The other thing I might say is we're building these so people can lock and leave them if they want to. You know, as Andrew said, some of these people have several homes. They can live here, and if they want to move to Arizona for a month or two, they can.
Okay. What is your average square foot of the home that you've developed here?
Well, the building envelope's 2,800 square feet, but I don't think it'll be built out to that building envelope. And if you take a 2-car garage and figure, I'll let Andrew chime in. Andrew, you still there?
Yeah. So can you ask the question again? I'm trying to figure out how I can answer the question.
I'm just curious of what the size of these houses are, you know, the average square foot of it.
Let's see. Probably these houses are probably going to be, what do you think, Jerry? We talked about.
I think around 2,000. I think around 2,000 square feet. A little bit more than that, perhaps. 2,000.
I was going to say 2,200, 2,500, something like that. Probably an average.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do just want to make a general comment. I think it's a very well thought out plan here. And I like to see like this infill with single family residential instead of the high density units that are trying to, you know, go into infills like this and stuff. And I think this project that you've developed here is very suitable for that piece of property. So I commend you for that.
Thank you. We've worked hard on it.
Commissioner
all.
Miller, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Saul? All right, we'll move on to Commissioner Save. I know you asked about the open space and the setbacks. If you want to ask additional questions or ask those again.
Yes, I do have additional questions. First of all, Mr. Eckelberger, I wanted to let you know I did drive out to the site today, so I had a chance to see the area itself and the neighborhood surrounding it. So I just wanted you to know that. My question is, I know that you've worked with the Sheriff's Department and with South Metro Fire District, but I'd just like to understand for my own edification, on the private drive, I see it's 36 feet wide, and I'm wondering, how does a fire truck get into this area, and then where does it turn around? Same thing for like a moving van or a garbage truck. And related to that question is, it doesn't look like there's any guest parking except for the driveways. And I wondered if guest parking, if people could park on that private drive, or will it not be wide enough?
Yeah, hi, this is Brian Clerico with CWC. I'd like to answer that question. The street section is conforming to the county private road with parking on only one side of the street. So this is going to get signed, and Jerry and I will work through this still, but I believe it's probably going to get signed to have no parking on the east side of the street, because that's where most of the driveways are located. So we're going to try and park people on the opposite side. If a fire truck or any larger vehicle needs to access the site, on the north side, where those three homes are, that's what's called a hammerhead, and that allows a large vehicle, such as like a fire truck or a moving truck, to be able to, turn to the east and then back up and then pull back out, so they're exiting the development.
Okay, and then how would a fire truck, say, get in and out of that smaller track B that is just to the left of the property as you enter, that covers those homes 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, that little short stub, that's short enough that a fire truck does not have to access that. They can stay on the main road, on the main private road, and do whatever they need to do. And this was discussed with them back a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it meets Commissioner Suave, the South Metropolitan Fire Department or district regulations. And they're good with what we're doing, both for fire trucks and any other emergency vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Wallman, do you have any questions?
I do. Since I am not a traffic engineer, can you describe for me where the refuge lane is located? Is that like a middle? I know you spoke about restriping, which to me narrows lanes when you restripe to create, if the refuge lane is something that's used in the middle of South Plat Canyon Road, so that people can make left or right turns by using that kind of center area. Is that what the refuge lane is?
Yeah, we're going to restripe that center lane the way it is right now to create a, I believe it's an 11-foot or 12-foot lane. And we're going to widen the road, South Platte Canyon, to the west, enough to be able to put in, 12-foot lanes all across. So there's going to be some widening to the west, and that way we can create then that 12-foot lane, which will function as a refuge lane. 12-foot lane.
Okay, and that land how did you acquire that property in order to create, to widen that area?
This is Jerry Eckelberger again. I sweet talked Denver Water. Not that I could do that. I'm kidding. But you know, I went to Denver Water and said, this is what CDOT would like to see. Will you, Denver Water, be willing to give the land so that we can have a total of 125-foot decel, but only most of it's a taper, and only the last 50 feet is a little wider. But you know, those 12-foot lanes that John was describing, that's pretty standard lane width. So we're not losing anything in lane width. And again, we're constrained. We got Denver Water on in front of us, and then we've got all the development on the other side. So there's only so much that we could do.
Right, which is basically why I asked the question, right? You know, there's like no plans to redo South Plat Canyon Road, which God knows could really use it. But that was my concern, because the people who now live on Wilder Lane were very concerned that Wilder Lane would be used as kind of a cut through to other parts of you know, like Bowles. They were concerned about that.
Yeah, Commissioner Waltman, let me address that last part. If you look at Wilder Lane, they've got what we call a pork chop at their entryway, so that it prohibits people, unless they're going to be very illegal, from doing anything but going right in and right out. And then CDOT wanted our entry to be exactly opposite that, I think in part for that reason. I know from talking to the folks at Wilder Lane the other day on a Zoom call, and then from seeing some correspondence from them to you folks, and what I noted was, we're not opposed to development or the development, but that they've got problems with Plat Canyon Road. And you know, unfortunately, whether we were developing or not, there's going to be problems with Plat Canyon Road. And what we're doing is trying to avoid the problems that they're having and that Columbine Valley might have by this full service access, where people won't try to cut through there. But that's happening to them right now. And it's a busy road, and you're right. You know, but again, 5 2/3 acres and not having property up against the road, we're sort of stuck.
Well, also you got to look at the fact that Wilder Lane connects to Middlefield and then to Bowles, so they have an option. We're not connecting to Bowles, so we have no options.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a question from Commissioner Latsis?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a quick question about the open space. In the letter dated November 27th of 2019 from the LAI Design Group, it refers to your project having approximately 35% open space, which exceeds the minimum 30% required. So I want to make sure that we are going to be having 30%. That what you stated tonight, and that all documentation will be stated the same.
Yes, Commissioner, this is Jennifer Carpenter from LAI Design Group. Yes, during our submittal process and working with the ponds and redesigning some of the lots and the private drive, we did drop in our open space. So we are at the 30%. That does, the open space on the property does include the pond, which on our SDP we've shown with a crosshatch, that is sheet 2. So at this time, with this SDP, we are showing 30%.
Okay, thank you. And is the detention pond in that calculation, and will the HOA maintain that, or who will?
Yes, ma'am, it is in the open space calculation, and I recall, and Jerry, that the HOA will be maintaining that. Yep. And the developer/builder are working on an agreement for installation.
Well, we will develop the detention pond, and then it'll be maintained by the HOA. And Chairperson, you say Rick, is that correct? Am I saying
That's
it correctly?
correct.
Yeah, what I might add to all this is everything that we've done in terms of drainage has not only gone through Brian, our civil engineer, who spoke a few minutes ago about the road, but also through the county engineering and also through SEMSWA, Southeast Metropolitan Stormwater Management Association. And they've all blessed this, as have a couple of other entities concerned with stormwater.
Okay, thank you. I have one final question regarding your request for a deviation from the sign code because you want a taller sign because of your distance from Plat Canyon Road. Could you show again where that sign would be and explain your reasoning?
Well, this is Jennifer Carpenter from LAI Design again. So at this stage of the SDP, the signage is not only illustrative, but also we do know that we have to do a sign permit on its own to the county. With the distance, it is right on the other side it's on the east side of track A. And it's set back because, well, it has to be, that's Denver Water property. It's set back such a distance that just visually, it's somewhat of a hardship if we have the height minimum that is there. So we were asking for, before we go into the construction documents of a monument sign, we were asking for the deviation now. And it's mostly, yes, just for visual from Plat Canyon.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no further questions now from the Planning Commission, and you will get a chance later.
Chairman, Chairman,
yes.
I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Sauvé again. There's a discrepancy that I need to clear up. Kat,
Sure.
When I talked to you on the phone today, you said the detention pond was not included in open space, and now I'm hearing that it is. So could you clear up that discrepancy for the record, please?
No, thank you for clarifying. Generally, it's my understanding that detention ponds are not permitted, but there have been a few developments where they are permitted if they meet certain standards. Going from what Jerry said and speaking with Kurt, the engineer, it's my understanding thus far that they are meeting those certain criteria, but I would ask engineering to confirm if that detention pond would be suitable to be counted towards open space.
And this is Jennifer again. In regards to continuing with what Kat has said, we are actually going to be increasing our landscape. At this stage, it's just a preliminary plan. At the administrative site plan, when we actually do the details, we will be increasing. We'll have to look at increasing caliper sizes, height sizes, and also percentage of evergreen that Jerry had spoke to the neighbors about, specifically on those blocks 1 and blocks 2.
And one more thing I'd like to add, if this SDP does get approved with stating that 30% open space is required, the ASP will need to match that. If they go through the process and find that the 30% doesn't work with their proposed detention pond, they'll have to come back and amend this document. So if they are approved with 30% open space, their ASP will be held to that standard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauvé. We'll now move on to the public hearing, and our moderator will call on individual telephone numbers to participate in the hearing. As a reminder, if you have questions, we will collect those and the applicant or staff will respond after the callers have offered their comments. I will now open the public hearing for the Millstone at Columbine Specific Development Plan and Preliminary Plat. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. We do currently have callers on the line, and I will call them in the order they're listed on the computer screen here. Starting with the phone number ending with the last 4 digits of 4414. Caller, with the last four digits 4414. If you'd like to speak regarding this item, please press *6 to unmute yourself. State your name and location for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to comment. I see that 4414 is still muted. We'll give them a moment to press *6 before moving on. The next caller has the last four digits of 6455, and 6455, you are not muted on our end, so if you would like to speak, please state your name and location for the record.
Yeah, hi, my name is Nathan Taylor. I live in the hamlet near this development. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Awesome. I had a question to the developers. There on the southwest corner, there's a trail access that connects the trail along Plat Canyon Road. The neighborhood of the hamlet, it connects it to that trail system, which is commonly used not only for residents to access the country club, but more importantly for children to have a safe egress path to get to the sidewalk to get to school. And I did not hear that necessarily called out as part of your plans, but that was going to remain intact. And I guess just a comment from those of us who live around here. I know we've talked a lot about traffic, and there was a lot of discussion around that was, in my opinion, not necessarily relevant to the situation of the traffic there. For instance, University in Greenwood Village with 4 lanes is not relevant to the Plat Canyon issues that traffic that we have. Furthermore, I think anybody who's been around here knows that no one's turning north onto Plat Canyon at any point between 7 and 9:30 in the morning because there's traffic backed up for hundreds of yards in either direction. But yeah, that's my main question, the access on the southwest corner, and then just kind of comment on the realistic situation with the traffic. Thanks.
All right, thank you. The next caller has the last four digits of 1889 and does not show as muted on my end. So if you'd like to speak regarding this, please state your name and location. (1889) has muted themselves, so we'll move on to the next caller. Last four digits of 3846. You are not muted, so if you'd like to speak, please state your name and location for the record. 3846. Moving on to the next caller, has the last four digits of 7277.
That's Commissioner Wallman. Jason, thank you.
Thank you. The next caller has the last four digits of 8934. Moving on to the next caller with the last four digits of 4. Oh.
Sorry, I screwed that up. So my name is Brent Cadlon, and I'm the new planner for the town of Columbine Valley. I've worked with Phil Sieber for the last 5 years, and I was his assistant. And Phil issued a few comments to Kat in January on the proposed improvements to the Millstone project, and the concerns brought up in the letter are, we think, still valid. This being that the traffic level of service for the entry in the proposed site is at a level F, and it also will not help the situation at Bowles and Plat Canyon Road, which is also a level F during the peak hour. The major concern being the safety of the left-hand turn and the cut-through traffic that will occur, because inevitably people will get tired of waiting to make that left turn onto Plat Canyon during the AM peak when the cars are stacked. The proposal calls for the addition of a refuge lane in the middle of Plat Canyon Road, which is good. And it sounds like the road will be widened to allow for this. I'm hoping the developer can explain that a little bit further, maybe the traffic engineer as well. More importantly, I think Phil was concerned with someone inevitably attempting to make that left turn out without adequate gap and then an accident happening. And then in such case, there would be a serious damage or injury to somebody. And then that being said, the cars that would want to come out would then find their way through Columbine Valley streets to find a new way to Bowles. Columbine Valley's infrastructure was not designed in a way to handle the additional traffic. And we would like the developer to talk about how they're addressing all the traffic concerns from our staff as well as the residents of Columbine Valley in their presentation in preventing cut-through traffic, not just through Wilder Lane, but through the villages or Fairway Lane, which are south of Wilder Lane. And that's really all the comments that I had.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the next caller in line, which has the last 4 digits of 4644. You are not muted on our end, so if you'd like to speak, you may do so.
Hi.
Oh, you are now muted.
Hi.
Hello, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I hit *6 and I have to wonder if some of the other people that didn't come on the phone maybe had the same issue in the fact that you couldn't hear me the first time, so I had to do it twice. So I would ask that maybe a little bit more time be allowed to allow people to speak, because I have a feeling they're not able to get on the call like I just had that issue.
Right.
Okay, back to my comments. I'm Heidi Schaffnet. I live up the road, up Plat Canyon to the south in Christensen Lane Estates. My concern is, again, the traffic and the safety. That is a very busy intersection. It's a cockeyed intersection. It's less than a 90-degree turn if you're turning from Bowles onto southbound Plat Canyon. And we have the same issues that we had when KB Homes did it. I hear the developers saying, oh, well, this is so much better than KB Homes. But, and comparing this intersection to all of these other subdivisions, it's not all of these other subdivisions. That is, you've got 2 lanes merging together on the southbound traffic. You've got less than a 90-degree curve or turn from eastbound Bowles onto southbound Plat Canyon. And people making left-hand turns, I guarantee there's going to be an accident. I watch people, and I myself have had to try to turn left onto Plat Canyon from the opposite side, from the retail center, and you have to wait quite a bit. And I've seen people take very serious risks. So you've got way too much traffic coming in. It's not the same subdivision situation as the developer keeps comparing all these other ones to, because these other ones don't have that type of horrible intersection. You don't have all of those traffic. You don't have 2 lanes merging together. He used Wilder Lane consistently as an example. Well, Wilder Lane has more than one in and one out. So they're not taking the same situation and comparing it. So they're not comparing apples to oranges. And the other question that I have is, and maybe I missed this in the beginning, I would like to know how many units the property is currently zoned for, because I have a real issue with people trying to cram in more units than the property was zoned for. When he purchased the property, he knew what the zoning was. So I have no problem with it, homes being built that conform the current zoning standard, but I don't know how many it's currently zoned for. So that's my take on everything.
All right, thank you. The next caller in line is not muted and can talk whenever they want. Their last 4 digits are 7253.
Yeah, this is Don Jenna. I'm the HOA president for the hamlet, and it seems like, without trying to be redundant with regard to previous callers, most of my concern, the concern that I've got from my residents, is basically the same issue with regard to the traffic and the traffic issues on South Platte Canyon. It looks like you've done a good job with regard to trying to keep the boundary and the properties on the boundary, particularly the 3 that are contingent the hamlet in pretty good stead. I would like to re-emphasize the concern of one of my callers with regard to the kind of the access trail we have from the interior of the hamlet down to South Platte Canyon for both walking traffic as well as also bicycles and access for the school kids to be able to get in and out. And that's on the south end of the detention pond. I'd like to get some feedback with regard to what the plan would be to both maintain as well as also perhaps improve that access trail. The other concerns that I've got is, and I'll say that I was a major part of that 2017 challenge to KB Homes, and you know, frankly, this is a great relief with regard to trying to both compare that. But the same concern I've got, I think you tried to answer with regard to the private drive and having it large enough for emergency vehicles as well as also for the garbage and turnaround as well as also moving vans. I'm not sure that you know. I think one of the requirements that you have in the referral it says prior to approval, the fund you'll have I guess a more. Let's see. Let me see if I can get to it here. It's paragraph 3. Or paragraph 2. The applicant will meet all South Metro Fire District requirements. I'm not sure that I know what they are unless you've told me that they've already been taken care of. What additional requirements South Metro might have, and I'm thinking that as the fire department would probably be just as demanding as maybe the any moving trucks or anybody else that might be in the trash, as well as also you know, snow removal and stuff like that. That would be cranked into those requirements. So bottom line is that I think that there's probably a little more fleshing out that needs to be done, as well as also you know, concerns I have for the hamlet. And the last thing to say about the hamlet is that whether it makes any difference or not, the median price point in the hamlet now is I think your information is a little dated. We're probably somewhere in the high 700s up to you know, we've been doing business, in fact, a lot of it on the $1 million plus. So that would, if that means anything to the planning board, that you know, we're probably on, you know, pushing the higher end of your estimates there.
All right, thank you. Next caller, who is also currently able to speak with the last 4 digits, 8571.
Yes, my name is Rowdy Stowell. I do live in Wilder Lane. I have the benefit of standing at my kitchen sink and staring at this intersection that's been discussed in great detail during today's call. Excuse me. My position on the whole thing is it's great to see that there is a developer who put an awesome plan together. They could potentially be a great partner, but the problem is not their traffic, but all of the traffic that is coming northbound and in turn southbound on Platte Canyon. Jerry mentioned the Wild Plum development, the 90 plus 100-ish homes that are going in there. That is going to be a new issue in creating additional volume on these problem areas, both north and southbound. And whether it's 12 cars an hour or 1 car an hour trying to take a left-hand turn out of this subdivision, I don't think the street can handle any of it. And we are at a kind of a straw that broke the camel's back issue here, where it's not if, it's when do we reach critical mass with the volume of traffic coming northbound on this small street. So again, I think the pressure relief valves are going to be Village Way, Fairway Lane, Wilder Lane. Regardless if there's an accident, I just think people are going to have so much volume. Everybody's late for work. Everybody's got somewhere else to be. What is the quickest way to get to where they're going? And how do we limit those potential pressure release valves if and when we put a kind of critical mass on this road? So where I think Jerry and his group are putting together a great development plan, I think that plan is in a position where the infrastructure that the community can't handle it. So I love the houses. I like how it looks, but it's in a position where it is very difficult to actually implement it. So that's my piece. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The next caller has the last 4 digits of 0392, and you are not muted on our end, so if you'd like to begin speaking, you may. Last 4 digits, 0392, if you'd like to talk about this project. Please let us know your thoughts. All right, we will move on to the next caller who has the last 4 digits of 7624. You also are not muted and may start speaking if you wish.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is Kerry Hasagawa, and I am in Wilder Lane. And I have the same concerns as many of my neighbors. Rowdy, who just spoke, neighbors in Columbine Valley, Christensen Estates, Hamlet. We're all very concerned with the traffic and the pressure it will put on Columbine Valley with people trying to cut through, because Bowles and Plat Canyon is such a terrible intersection. And we are talking about or COVID times, you know, when the traffic, people go back to work, it just increases the pressure. And we did speak with Jerry, the developer, about, you know, some of these concerns, and he does bring up the same condition in Greenwood Village, but as I heard earlier, it is not nearly the same condition. We have, within a couple of 100 yards, what I've heard is one of the 2 worst intersections in Littleton. We have a new high traffic gas station there. We have a shopping center that houses a daycare, among other retail businesses. And we have Wilder Lane. And we also have the traffic, the pedestrians, joggers, bicyclists, golf carts that try to cross at that intersection at Wilder Lane and the proposed new development. All these are very, very unsafe conditions. And, you know, as Jerry said, it's 22 homes, which is, in his eyes, minimal. It's not 22 vehicles. In my, as far as I know, I mean, every home has a couple of cars, so you're easily at 44. And some people have adult drivers that brings that number up. Then you have what other people have mentioned as far as garbage trucks and fire engines and UPS and DoorDash and all this traffic. It's not 22 cars or 10 or whatever. All these cars that are trying to make a left onto northbound Plat Canyon is very dangerous. And speaking for some of my neighbors in Wilder Lane, that release stop brings cars onto Wilder Lane, which there are a lot of young kids here. And that's a huge concern for all of us. You know, restriping and the pork chop that Jerry referred to, that doesn't stop anybody from making a left turn out of our neighborhood. You already have a double yellow line at Plat Canyon. People still cross that to turn into the gas station. And so the traffic studies that are done, I mean, you got to live here. We live here. We see this every day. And the conditions here are unsafe. I don't expect Jerry to correct all this, but you can't make it worse. And I think that this development just does not help the traffic conditions. Thank you, Chairwoman and Commissioners. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. And the last caller in the list has the last 4 digits. Actually, that caller was on the applicant's team, so that was the last caller I had on the list. So I will turn this back to the chair, who is currently muted.
Okay, at this point, as we're done with the public comment, we will ask the applicant and staff to respond to the questions from the public hearing. It seems like traffic was a recurring theme.
Yes.
I'll ask to speak first, if I can, on the issues that are directly related to me, Jerry. The main question was, what was the land currently zoned for and the density that it's currently zoned for? The land is currently zoned in R2, which is an obsolete zone district in our land development code. But the minimum lot size for the R2 zone district is 20,000 acres. So that would equate to just over 2 dwelling units per acre.
20,000 square feet, I believe you wanted to say.
Pardon me. Yes, thank you, Jason. So just above 2 dwelling units per acre. Other than that, I think most of the questions are better suited for the applicant.
So to follow up also on what Kat was saying in regards to the density, while what she states the R2 is obsolete, they have the lot size. There is also a comp plan which allows a range of 1 to 8 dwelling units per acre, which means we could go up to 45 units. And obviously we have not done that. And I will let Jerry and the rest of our engineers probably follow up with the remaining questions.
Yeah, this is Jerry. Perhaps first, ready to hear from an expert, John Aldridge, our traffic consultant. John, do you want to speak to what seems to be a major issue?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. First of all, I just have to tell everybody that I truly respect your concern for safety. I've been involved in accidents, and I've got 3 kids that have all had serious accidents. One's permanently crippled because of a traffic accident. So I'm very, very, very concerned myself about safety and how things operate. We don't do this in a vacuum. I'm not the only one that has looked at this several times. Prior to, there was a traffic engineer, obviously, that worked on the KV. And we came to the same conclusion that there's really no discernible impact of this project. It's a very low generating project. The numbers are very, very low. When we do a level of service analysis, like the gentleman from Columbine Valley suggested, that it works at level of service F. Actually, we've redone all of these analyses, and then we've got a level of service C. We did quite a bit of work with Phil on looking at Village Court and how that may become a cut-through area, but it's very circuitous. It would take a long time for anybody to sort of turn right out of this particular project, go down a Village Court, turn left on there, then they have to make another left turn to circle around. There's a lot of homes in there before they can get out to Middlefield and go up Middlefield and face another situation where there's a traffic signal on poles. So it's kind of unreasonable to think that that would be a very good cut-through movement. Using Wilder Lane as a cut-through would be illegal, but I understand some people obviously would make an illegal movement, but they would still then have to cross over, the entire lane, similar to making a left turn. They'd have to wait for a gap to cross over two directions of traffic to use Wadler Lane as a cut-through. With regard to the two-lane merge, we have been out there several times taking videos and pictures, and as it turns out, most of the people who are going through coming over from the right turn lane into the left turn, into the southbound outside lane, moving over to the inside lane to go through, they actually do that. They make that move quite earlier than where the access is. So I'm not explaining that very well, but anyway, they move over quite a bit earlier than before they reach the access point. So they're in the one lane going southbound. But what we're doing here is also adding a right turn lane. So anybody coming down wanting to turn right into the property has a right turn lane to do that, so they get out of the main line. The refuge lane does work exceptionally well, and it will give people the opportunity to make a two-stage left turn. So, this was a suggestion made by CDOT. We've had 3 or 4 engineers at CDOT that look at this. We've had engineers from the city of Littleton who have all reviewed it, and we all come to the same conclusion that it's going to operate well. That doesn't mean there will be no accidents. We cannot guarantee that. But based on all of our analysis, based on all of the rules and regulations that we have to follow, very specific thresholds, et cetera, in the highway access code that we have to adhere to, and we meet all of those requirements. So, I understand the concerns, but this is, I think it's a well-designed project, and it will function well.
This is, you finished, John?
Sure.
Yeah, this is Jerry Eckelberger again. Let me see if I can add to that and then answer a few other items that were raised. We do have experience here. We have experience because right now there's access to the South Suburban Trail parking lot. And I'll bet I've been in that parking lot 100 times over the past few years. I see cars come and go in and out of that parking lot. And they make left turns in, coming from the south, without any left turn lane in. They make left turns out without any refuge lane. They make right turns in without a decel lane. And in speaking to traffic people at Littleton and the county, I'm not saying there haven't been accidents there, but they tell me if there have been, it's insignificant, that it's a safe intersection. You know, we said to CDOT, you know, what do you want? And they have said continually, the safest intersection possible. And we, CDOT, our engineers, and they do this all the time, think that what you are doing here is safe. The only reason I was talking about University Boulevard was not to say that this is similar, but to say we've got a refuge lane there that gets used all the time, and it works. And you know, it will work here as well. As I've watched the traffic patterns down there, after people make the left turn off of Bowles to go south, and then Bowles starts going east and west, there's a big break, and you can easily get across Plat Canyon and sit in the refuge lane. Number of cars, there's no impact. I think everybody agrees, whether it's, you know, John, the prior traffic engineer, CDOT, whomever. When we spoke with the traffic manager at Littleton, he said, this is an urban setting. What you're doing is fine. And by the way, Brett, is it Brett Kavanaugh? Do I have that right? He may be muted again. But the gentleman who spoke from Columbine Valley, after Phil said, hey, I've got some issues with this, Phil Sieber, in about March, Andrew Larrick, John Aldridge, and I went down to Columbine Valley and met with Phil. And Phil said, I'm good with what you're doing. Now, you know, Phil's gone now, unfortunately. But that's what he told us. And a lot of what we've put together here is so there aren't cut-throughs on Wilder, Village Court, Fairway Lane, or anywhere else. So we're a small project. We're not going to have an impact here. Wilder Lane's a small project. They've just been there for 3 years. I don't think they don't have an impact. Wild Plum's going to have an impact, and everybody up and down this road has an impact. But to say that this property, with proper planning, and we've got proper planning, shouldn't be able to legitimately access the road right away that's CDOT's, the jurisdiction CDOT's, when they say it's good, there's nothing more that we can do. I think Randy's right. I think we've got an awesome plan. I think we've got a great development plan. And it's not our traffic. I think he said it's all the traffic. It's been going on for a while. It takes something bigger than 5 2/3 acres to deal with. There were a few other specific points. I think Dawn Jenna from the Hamlet talked about the access trail. That access trail comes from the Hamlet, and it is south of our property. It is not on our property. We cannot access it. It has nothing to do with us. We're not going to change it in any way. There was talk about, you know, the size of our private road. You know, I get to a position where I have to listen to experts, and you know, we took this to, again, South Metro Fire. They're fine with what we're doing. If they can get a fire truck in there with no problem, if they can get first responders in there with no problem, we don't have a problem. All of these homes will have 2-car garages. All of these homes will have driveways where people can park, and then they can only park on one side of the street meaning there's still plenty of room left for fire trucks, garbage trucks, et cetera, to get in and out. Let me just look at my notes and see if I'm answering what was brought up. Wilder Lane, I mean, it's almost as new as our project. We're not going to use Wilder Lane. And all these issues I hear about what's going on Plat Canyon Road, you know, maybe a piece of it comes down to policing the road. And my guess is that I know Arapahoe County polices it. I think Columbine Valley and Littleton probably do too. It's unfortunate that there are those problems, but I don't think you can look at a project and presume that somebody's going to break the law. We did the best that we could. We did what we did with CDOT, again, who it's their right of way, their jurisdiction, and they said, here's what you do, and we've done it. Thank you.
They've issued the access permit.
Yeah, they've issued an access permit based on our plans.
The last thing, Chair.
Yes.
Chair Reek.
Yes.
The last thing that I have in my notes is somebody asked about the condition of approval for South Metro Fire District. I want to clarify that South Metro Fire District did provide a referral that said they approved the plan, but necessary permits and plans are required at the time of ASP. So that is why I included that condition as a recommendation for the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Kat.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
This is Chuck Haskins, Engineering Services Division. Just wanted to give staff's perspective on some of these traffic issues. This is a very difficult situation. I think the public comment from the residents across the street really categorized it pretty well. Is that, you know, it's a very constrained corridor in terms of traffic, and even though the volume of traffic from this development, projected from this development, is pretty low, it is still going to be very difficult for that left turn movement. The refuge area that John Aldridge talked about should help that, but that has not been analyzed. Staff cannot say there won't be any cut-through traffic. The cut-through right across the street would be very challenging, and you'd have to have very clear openings, both north and south, that you know, that if you had that, you probably wouldn't need to cut through. So CDOT does have control of the access, and I think we as staff agree with them that a full movement access here does make sense rather than restrict it as they did across the street, because there's going to be times when making that left turn movement outside of the peak hour is going to be easier and to accomplish. So but I just want to be very clear that, you know, there is very poor levels of service for that left turn movement. And I also have Carl Packer, our traffic operation manager, on the call as well. I don't know, Carl, if you have anything else you want to add, just so for the planning commissioner's benefit. He may not be on the call anymore. The one other thing I'd like to say is this project is projected to generate 208 vehicles per day. So there was a lot of discussion about 40 and maybe a couple more or something. It's projected to to generate 208 vehicles per day, and the peak hour volumes are pretty low, as described by the applicant. So anyway, that's what staff has to say relative to the traffic, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. Any final questions for Mr. Haskins?
Yes, Chair, this is Commissioner Latsis. I have a question for Mr. Haskins. So, Chuck, you might remember when this case came through in 2017, I asked you the same question. Because this traffic issue exists, I believe that intersection was graded, according to traffic criteria as a D at that time. And now it has progressed to an F, per the documentation included in the presentation. So I guess my question is, because I don't think it's fair to, expect applicants of these private properties that are developable along Plat Canyon, because this is one of those remaining corridors with infill, to solve the problem. But when does CDOT, because I thought that traffic grades for intersections at some point triggered activity on their part to improve an intersection. Is there anything you can tell us about what are the criteria to improve their major thoroughfares based on level of service?
Yeah.
Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead, Carl. Maybe you could address that better than I.
Chuck, I heard your introduction. This is Carl Packer from Traffic Operations Manager here at the county. I apologize. I was having trouble unmuting myself and trying feverishly to see if anybody could hear me. So sorry to interrupt and go backwards, but I did have one thing to add to the discussion too. Essentially adding to Chuck's comments that this is a difficult situation from a stakeholder jurisdiction standpoint. That is, you think of Plat Canyon Road, State Highway 75 as CDOT. We've got Littleton, Columbine Valley, Denver Water Board property. Operationally, there's merges and access points close to a major intersection. I think we had a public comment that was talking about the queue length being long at Bowles and Plat Canyon. There is a regional stakeholders improvement managed by Littleton for that intersection that is currently in design. Wanted to add that. And I think that the access permit process that the applicant went through was per our criteria. So I did want to note that.
Mrs. Latsis, have your questions been answered?
Yeah, I'm not sure we answered your question, Commissioner.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like there's actually something underway, and at least it sounds like beyond a study to maybe more of a design process looking at this intersection. Is that correct?
Yeah, it sounds like there is some discussion on the Bowles Plat Canyon intersection that I believe is being spearheaded by the city of Littleton. But you bring up a good question, and I'm not sure how I answered it several years ago, but there is no real plan to widen Plat Canyon Road that we are aware of. And given, CDOT's funding challenges, that may be just not in the cards in the upcoming years. So, but there does sound like some movement to at least study the Bowles Plat Canyon intersection and look at maybe some alternatives to improve some of those turning movements. So.
Great. Well, I don't know that I expected a complete answer on that, because that's somewhat in line with what we discussed back in 2017. But I'm glad to hear that there is some review and design potentially happening there.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, it is a very minor amount of traffic being added by this development, and there's no real opportunities, for us to have them contribute to any improvements to, that intersection. There's just not enough of their traffic contributing and to warrant any contribution to that effort or anything. So unfortunately, there's no opportunity for that. But the good thing is it is a small amount of traffic being added to that intersection.
Madam Chair, I had a question, Commissioner Saul.
Yes, Commissioner.
Chuck, you mentioned the volume was 208 vehicles per day. Does that include the parking lot for the trail?
That's a good question. When the traffic counts were done, and again, this goes back to the KB proposal, because we were unable to do traffic counts due to COVID here, and also the traffic characteristics were less than what KB had projected. There was only a couple peak hour movements. We didn't have volumes, daily volumes for the use of the trail head, but there was only a couple in the peak hours that were using that. But I don't know. I don't think the 208 includes that, but the trail use. But I think that there weren't that many more. Maybe John Aldridge could speak to that, but I don't think we have a good feel for what the daily use of the trail is. But that would certainly be added to the 208. So that's a good point.
Okay. Yeah, no, especially with the COVID, there's more people on the trails. So
the only way we could evaluate that is to, as far as the daily, is to look at the number of cars in the parking lot, et cetera. Yeah. But
this is Jerry Eckelberger again. Yeah, I'm not trying to say that it's very large. I'm just saying that people use it, and that there have not been any significant accidents there.
Okay. Any other final questions? Thank you, Mr. Saul, for your question. We do have another public hearing after this one, so I feel like we need to bring this one to a close unless there are any final queries. Okay, I am closing the public hearing, and we're going to bring these items to the Planning Commission for a motion and discussion. If there are any additional questions, the board call for a motion on the specific development plan with zoning. Any PC member can now ask any additional question. If not, I will accept a motion regarding the SDP plan with zoning.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Wallman. I would like to make a motion.
Thank you.
In the case SDP Z20-002, Millstone at Columbine Specific Development Plan, the planning commissioners have reviewed the staff report, including all exhibits and attachments, and have listened to the applicant's presentation and any public comment as presented at the public hearing. I hereby move to recommend approval of this application based on the findings in the staff report, subject to conditions 1 through 5.
Okay, we have a motion made by Commissioner Woolman. Is there a second to this motion?
Commissioner Latsis will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Latsis. We have a motion seconded by Commissioner Latsis. Any further discussion? If not,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds. please.
Yes, this is Commissioner Sauvé. I wondered if we need to include a number 6 that would have something to do with that the SDP, excuse me, the SDP will include no less than 30% open space, so that we have that that issue there on record.
Commissioner, I think, oh, pardon me, Chair. I think if the final plans are approved with that understanding that it's 30% per the discussions at this meeting and how the plans are drafted right now, I don't think that's a necessary condition of approval, but I'll ask Robert Hill to confirm.
Robert, are you there?
Yes, I am. I tend to agree with Kat on this. I think it's already in the record. This will be a recommendation when it gets to the Board of County Commissioners, and if they approve it, one of the stipulations in the approval, in the resolution of approval that the board will adopt, is that all material representations are incorporated as a condition of the approval. So I think we're probably covered on the 30%.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure about that, so thank you.
Okay.
I withdraw my suggestion.
That's okay.
Yeah, I withdraw that suggestion.
Okay, we have the original motion made by Commissioner Woolman. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Latsit. Mr. Reynolds, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brockelman?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Saul?
Aye.
Commissioner Sauvé?
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman?
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Latsis?
Aye.
Chair Rick?
Aye.
The motion on the millstone at Columbine specific development plan with zoning passes on a vote of 7-0.
I will now accept a motion regarding the preliminary plat.
Chair Rick, this is Commissioner Latsis. I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Latsis. We have a motion made by Commissioner Latsis. Do we have a second?
I second that if this is Commissioner Woolman.
Thank you, Commissioner Woolman. We have a motion made by Commissioner Latsis, seconded by Commissioner Woolman. Any further discussion? Mr. Reynolds, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brockelman?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Saul?
Aye.
Commissioner Sauvé?
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman?
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Latsis?
Aye.
Chair Rick?
Aye.
The motion on the millstone at Columbine preliminary plat passes on a vote of 7-0.
Very good. We will now move on to our other subject for the evening, which is billboards and off-premise signs. And we're going to consider a county proposed amendment to the Land Development Code regarding billboards and off-premise signs. And we will start with Kat Hammer's staff presentation.
And if I might, I know I'm out of order. This is Jerry Eckelberger. I just wanted to say thank you for your consideration. We will not disappoint.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kat Hammer, you're on.
Thank you, Chair. I will start off by saying that this agenda item has been properly noticed and the PC has jurisdiction to proceed with making a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Pardon me there. Okay, the application before you tonight is a county initiated application known as LDC 19-002, Billboards and Off-Premise Signs Land Development Code Amendment.
Kat, if I could pause you for just one moment. The screen we're seeing just has a small image of my portrait and not the PowerPoint.
I thought I was getting good at this. Let me try this again. Here we are. Are we seeing the presentation now, commissioners?
Yes, and
Yes.
if you could just minimize the box in the lower right corner.
There we are. So as I started off by saying, Kat Hammer with Arapahoe County Planning Division. The application before you tonight is a county initiated application known as LDC 19-002, Billboards and Off-Premise Sign Land Development Code Amendment. On page 2, you'll see the proposal. Like I mentioned, it's a county initiated application to amend the land development code. And it would include new language and requirements that amend the provisions for billboards and other off-premises signs, including the conversion of any existing billboard or other off-premise signs to an electronic message center. On slide 3, titled Background, you guys will see a few bullet points indicating how this amendment came to be. Staff has received a number of inquiries from developer and industry representatives inquiring about the conversion of existing billboards in unincorporated Arapahoe County to electronic message centers, and also reducing the dwell time for electronic message centers. Our current regulations do not specifically address a process for converting static billboards to electronic message centers. And currently our dwell time for EMCs is 5 minutes. The proposal does include reducing that for other non-billboard signs to 1 minute. Currently the county currently there are 11 billboards in unincorporated Arapahoe County. All of those billboards are considered non-conforming as they do not have a permit on file for them. And I just want to mention that no new billboard has been constructed in unincorporated Arapahoe County for at least 15 years. That's what we looked into, and we have not found any construction of a new billboard for the last 15 years. Another reason we considered looking at this after we've received those calls is there were some concerns over the constitutionality of the existing process that we have for billboards in our USR process. The board did adopt a moratorium for these types of applications in May of 2019. It has since then been extended a number of times, and it is set to expire on January 7th, 2021. On slide 4, titled Existing Billboard and Off-Premise Regulations, this is a rundown of what our sign code currently regulates in regards to billboards. Billboards are currently permitted in our industrial and business zones, I1, I2, B3, B4, and B5. There are some stipulations on allowing those billboards. One, that they need to go through the USR process. 2, that they need to obtain a sign permit. And then there are locational restrictions, such as each billboard must be set apart at least 500 feet from another billboard and 500 feet from residentially zoned property. The current regulations are not clear whether or not billboards can be permitted through the PUD process. So this land development code amendment proposal does include some clarification on whether larger signs would be permitted in PUDs. In the current regulations, we do not have any guidance on whether billboards can be EMC, electronic message centers, and we also do not identify a process of the conversion. Like I mentioned before, the minimum dwell time for an electronic message center, which is permitted on smaller signs that are not considered billboard, is 5 minutes, and we have received some inquiry about reducing that time. What we're proposing with this land development code amendment is prohibiting new billboards countywide after a number of study sessions with the board, meeting with CDOT and industry reps, and talking with the board. We have decided that moving forward with prohibiting new billboards countywide is what the board has directed us to do. This land development proposal would also prohibit billboards through a PUD process, clarifying that for staff if any sign permits did come through, and also prohibit any conversion of existing billboards in the county to electronic message centers. Like I mentioned earlier, we currently have 11 billboards in unincorporated Arapahoe County. 2 of them were converted to electronic message centers through a sign permit. And looking back at our land use regulations, we just want to clarify that if there is a process to do that, we have it clearly defined in our land development code. We also will continue to recognize that the existing billboards are non-conforming and they are subject to the non-conforming regulation of the code. We also want to clarify that freestanding signs are under 48 square feet. They're not considered billboards. Prohibit freestanding signs as a primary use of any property. We would reduce the dwell time, like I mentioned before. And with this land development code amendment proposal, we're also proposing to add some definitions to help clarify some of the signs and sign permits that we see. On page 6, titled Process, referrals were sent out to external referral agencies and industry representatives on November 20th. That included a draft of our proposed language that is included as part of the material and can be found on the agenda. The outside referral period will remain open till December 20th. And we will be able to provide the Board of County Commissioners with all of the outside referrals that were received, as well as implement any kind of changes or minor adjustments that we received from those referral agencies. The Board of County Commissioners is scheduled to hear this proposal at the January 5th, 2021 public hearing. The outside referrals received to date can be found on slide 7, titled Outside Referral. We sent the referral to approximately 200 agencies. I know that sounds like a lot, but we did receive a lot of pushback. We did send it to the referral to every HOA in unincorporated Arapahoe County, along with a number of other agencies that would be interested in this proposed change. The referrals that we've received thus far, the E470, they had no comments. May Farms did provide comments to one of the commissioners about their existing signs, and they were assured that their signs were approved through a PUD, or they would definitely fall under the non-conforming provisions if this proposal was adopted. The Strasburg School District had no comments, as well as Denver South Economic Development. Thunder Ranches provided comments about the need for more regulations with no further explanation. And Weld County, they did not have any major concerns, but they did review our proposal and provided suggestions that we will look into implementing just to be sure that our code is clear. I stand for any questions, and Bob Hill has also played a big part in this, as well as Jason Reynolds, so they are also available for questions.
Okay, I will read. I'm going to go each. I'm going to read the name of each commissioner to see if you have a question. Commissioner Brockelman.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
No questions.
Commissioner Saul.
No questions.
Commissioner Save.
No question, but just a comment. I just want to commend the staff. I know this has been a long project, and to use a term, it doesn't seem like there's been any stone unturned in terms of exploration and process. So I just wanted to commend the staff for that.
Commissioner Woolman.
I have no questions, but I did notice a typo in the proposed final draft. It's section E3 on page 6. The line says one sign located at each entrance to a residential. There's a word missing. It probably should be subdivision. So it should read one sign located at each entrance to a residential subdivision from an adjacent public street.
Thank you, Commissioner Woolman. Chair Pro Tem Latsit.
No questions at this time.
I have no questions either. And this is a public hearing, and our moderator will call on individual telephone numbers to participate in the hearing. As a reminder, if you have questions, we will collect those and staff will respond after all callers have been offered their comments. I will now open the public hearing for the proposed billboards and off-premise signs code amendment.
All right, thank you. We have one caller on the line, but that caller is Planning Commissioner Member Woolman. There are no members of the public who have called in regarding this item. So with no callers, I will turn it back to the chair.
If there are no callers, then I will close the public hearing and bring this item to the Planning Commission for a motion and discussion. And if there are any questions that have surfaced, now is the time before I call for a motion on the proposed Land Development Code Amendment. Any other questions? I will accept a motion regarding the Land Development Code Amendment.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Woolman. I move that the Land Development Code Amendment as presented be approved.
Do we have a second for Commissioner Woolman's motion?
I second. This is Commissioner Sauvé.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauvé. We have the motion seconded. Any further discussion?
Pardon me, Madam Chair. This is Bob Hill. I'd just like to clarify that the motion is for a recommendation of approval.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Do we need to restate the motion?
Yes.
Please.
Okay, Commissioner Woolman, can you reword your motion?
Yes, I move for a recommendation of approval of case number LDC 19-002, billboards and off-premise signs Land Development Code Amendment as presented.
Commissioner Sauvé, will you second the restated motion?
Yes, I second that restated motion.
Any further discussion? Otherwise, Mr. Reynolds, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brockelman?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Saul?
Aye.
Commissioner Sauvé?
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman?
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Latsis?
Aye.
Chair Rick?
Aye.
The motion on the billboards and off-premise signs code amendment passes on a vote of 7-0.
Our next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for December 15th of this year. Any other staff announcements?
Yes, just quickly to clarify on the billboards and off-premise signs, I believe Ms. Hammer or Mr. Hill has noted the typo and we'll insert that into the final version of the code.
Thank you.
Okay.
I actually appreciate that because I've been finding typos in it and I'm not good at
Yeah,
that.
I found another one. There was there was not a space between two words, but I didn't take it down in my notes. So Bob, you may have found that already. It was just, it was just obviously whoever was typing this just didn't put a space in between.
Some of these actually carry over from the original sign code that was adopted.
Oh.
The amendments for the billboards are only a part of the code really, but there's some other provisions in there that we're catching them as we find them. So I appreciate your assistance.
All right, we are going to go ahead, Commissioner Woolman.
No, that's fine. I was just curious if there was there were matters as of now that are scheduled for our next hearing date.
Yes, I have one scheduled SDP for December 15th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Very good. Well, on the schedule and the grammatical error note, I am going to call this meeting adjourned, and we will see you all in December 15th. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Right, the live event